Have you ever felt like you're living a life that isn't yours? As if you're trapped in a script written by others, whether parents, teachers, friends, or society, while something inside you insists something is wrong. You wake up, put on your usual mask, fulfill your tasks, interact as if everything is fine. But in the silence, the unsettling question arises: who am I really? Jung suggested that this disconnection is not accidental, but a symptom of a deep problem that few confront. Many people never know their true selves, limited to social roles and fabricated identities. So the key question is, are you experiencing this? What you call I may not be yours, your personality, desires, beliefs. How much of that truly belongs to you? And how much was placed by others? From childhood, we are taught to fit in, to be accepted, hiding parts of ourselves to be loved. We create a mask, or persona, as Jung called it, a social disguise we use to protect ourselves. The more we use this mask, the more we distance ourselves from the true self, until it becomes all that remains of us. Jung warned that living distant from who we truly are comes at a high cost. It brings anguish, dissatisfaction, and a constant feeling of emptiness. Have you felt that, even with achievements, something is still missing, as if the essential is out of reach? This happens because what you seek is not out there. It is buried within you, under layers of conditioning. Ask yourself, are you willing to explore your deep psyche and discover who you truly are? This journey is not easy. Finding the true self requires confronting everything that has been repressed, forgotten, or twisted over the years. It is looking inward and facing parts of yourself you might prefer to avoid. But that is the only path to true freedom. In this video, we will explore the journey Carl Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, integrating all parts of oneself and living according to your true essence. Ready for this? Let's begin. From early on, you learned that you needed to behave in certain ways to be accepted. Perhaps you were taught to be polite, not to speak loudly, not to show anger, to please others. Or maybe you believed you always had to be strong, hiding weaknesses and pretending confidence. Without being aware, you began to shape an identity that was not entirely yours, but a reflection of what others expected. Carl Jung called this mask the persona. It is the face you present to the world, the version created to fit in. And make no mistake, we all have one. If you have ever behaved differently at work, at home, with friends, or on social media, you have experienced the power of the persona. Is it useful? Certainly. Without it, social contact would be difficult. But there's a danger in identifying too much with this mask, forgetting who you truly are. Think. How many times have you done something just to be accepted? How many times have you hidden your true thoughts for fear of judgment? How many times have you smiled when inside you wanted to scream? This happens because, at some point, the persona stopped being a mere role and began to dominate your life. You are no longer an authentic self, but an actor performing a role you didn't choose. And here's the problem. The persona does not sustain your soul. It may bring acceptance, but not fulfillment. It earns praise, but not real happiness. In the long run, living solely through the persona leads to an empty life, where something essential is missing and you can't identify it. Worse, the more you cling to the mask, the more you distance yourself from your true self. If the persona is not the real you, then who are you? To answer, we must look at the hidden side, the part that was repressed into the unconscious. Jung called this the shadow. Here begins the quest for your authentic self. But be careful. What is in the shadow is not always easy to face. Are you ready to discover it? Then follow me. If this content resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. The persona is the mask you wear for acceptance. while the shadow contains what you hide to avoid rejection. The problem is that what you repress does not disappear. On the contrary, it gains strength in the unconscious, moving in the shadows of the mind, affecting emotions, fears, and choices without your awareness. Jung described the shadow as the hidden side of the psyche, containing everything that was repressed over the course of life. Forbidden desires, contained anger, unacknowledged weaknesses, forgotten traumas. And the worst part, many things in the shadow aren't bad. They are parts of you that were deemed unacceptable. Maybe, as a child, you were curious, but were called inconvenient and learned to keep quiet. Maybe you wanted to express anger, but learned it was wrong and repressed it until it exploded. Maybe you showed sensitivity, but society called it weakness, and you hid your feelings. All of this, all the denied parts, did not disappear. They just hid in the shadow, waiting to emerge. And they do emerge. If you've ever been angry and then regretted it, felt envy and denied it, or reacted strongly to criticism without understanding why, it was your shadow in control. Ignored, it manifests distortedly, sabotaging relationships, career, and self-esteem. But the hidden truth is that the shadow is not an enemy. It harbors valuable aspects: creativity, authenticity, true strength. To be complete, you must integrate this part of yourself. This requires stopping running and starting to look within. But how do you face something so repressed? How do you bring the shadow to light without succumbing? The answer lies in the central concept of Jungian psychology, the self, the true self. Let's explore this. If the persona is the mask, and the shadow is what you repressed, the self, the true self, is what lies beyond these layers. It is the totality of your psyche, the harmonious fusion between being and appearing. Jung believed that the purpose of life is not to follow a societal path, but to become whole, to discover and live your true essence. This process of self-discovery and integration is what he called individuation. Discovering the self is not something that happens by chance. It is not a magical revelation that appears suddenly. The self remains hidden for those who do not face their own truths. You need to actively seek it, beginning a deep journey within. It is a confrontation with everything you have learned to hide, a reconciliation between your authentic desires and the restrictions of the outside world. The greatest obstacle on the path to the true self is fear. Fear of losing the identity built over time. Fear of discovering that many choices were not yours. Fear of facing parts of the personality that were denied. This fear prevents many from finding the self. They live clinging to the persona, pretending to be something they are not. While the shadow operates in the background, sabotaging chances of true happiness. However, by integrating the shadow and questioning the masks, something extraordinary occurs. You experience an unknown freedom. You realize that you no longer have to pretend to be someone you're not, nor satisfy everyone. You begin to act with authenticity, making decisions aligned with yourself, not just to meet others and expectations. And the greatest surprise, the closer you are to the self, the more life gains meaning. Anxieties and frustrations that were once obscure become clear. You understand the repetition of certain patterns, the impact of situations, and the reason behind relationships that don't work. Throughout life, something inside you was trying to show a path, but you were too busy adapting to notice. But a vital point. The search for the self does not occur in isolation. There is a crucial element in this journey that many ignore: the unconscious and the archetypes that shape our way of thinking, feeling, and acting. Without understanding these forces, you will never fully know yourself. Let's explore this next. The human mind is not limited to what is visible and rationally understood. Most of our psyche remains hidden, operating on a deep and invisible level. Jung believed that to find the true self, It was not enough to observe conscious thoughts and decisions. We need to dive into the depths of the unconscious, where the patterns that shape our identity reside. And what do we find in this unconscious? Beyond the shadow, repressed memories and desires, there is something fundamental: the archetypes. Jung discovered that the human psyche is not a blank slate. We are born with universal structures of thought, behavior, and emotion shared by all. He called this the collective unconscious, where archetypes, primordial images, emerge to influence our view of the world and ourselves. If you've ever felt inexplicably drawn to certain themes, characters, or symbols, it might be the archetypes at work in you. They appear in myths, films, cultural traditions, and, most importantly, in your dreams and behaviors. For example, the explorer archetype is present in various cultures, representing the incessant quest for novelty and adventure. The sage symbolizes wisdom and guidance. The rebel challenges conventions and defies the status quo, and the caregiver lives to nurture and ensure others' safety. The intriguing part is that you don't choose which archetypes influence your life. They operate without your conscious awareness. The problem arises when you identify solely with one archetype, neglecting the others. If you see yourself only as the explorer, you may feel constantly pressured to seek new experiences, ignoring the need for stability. If you live solely as the caregiver, you might forget your own needs while prioritizing others. Finding your true self means balancing these archetypes, recognizing which dominate your life, and integrating those left aside. But how do they appear in your life? The answer lies in your dreams, impulses, and repetitive patterns you don't understand. Ignoring them is neglecting essential parts of yourself. That's why many people feel lost. They don't realize that invisible forces are shaping their desires, decisions, and existential crises. The essential question is, if you don't become aware of these archetypes, they control you. They determine your behaviors, insecurities, relationships. By recognizing and integrating them, you take control of your narrative. This differentiates those who find their true selves from those who live trapped in automatic patterns. But what if you ignore all this? What happens when someone refuses to explore the unconscious and resists individuation, living according to masks and illusions? The result is the psychological suffering that accompanies those who flee from themselves. This is the danger of non-individuation, which we will explore now. What happens to someone who lives fleeing from themselves, ignoring their own shadow, trapped in a persona, refusing to recognize the archetypes that shape their destiny? Carl Jung made it clear, avoiding individuation doesn't keep us safe. In fact, it condemns us to a fragmented existence filled with anxiety, frustration, and an emptiness that can't be filled externally. Many believe that following social norms and conforming to expectations will bring them peace. But this peace is only superficial. Eventually, something starts to crumble. This may manifest as emotional crises without apparent cause, feelings of dissatisfaction even when everything seems perfect, or the emergence of psychosomatic illnesses. The body and mind always find ways to alert us when we stray too far from our true nature. The lack of individuation also appears in self-destructive patterns. Have you noticed how some people repeat the same mistakes throughout life? They enter toxic relationships, sabotage their own achievements, or live in constant dissatisfaction. This happens because, by not dealing with what is hidden within us, we become prisoners of our unconscious. It expresses itself, even through suffering. Another common symptom of non-individuation is feeling that we're merely existing, not truly living. This manifests in monotonous routines, purposeless lives, a sense that we're just going with the flow without a clear direction. This is the reality for many who never questioned if the life they live is the one they chose. They follow inherited patterns, imposed beliefs, and external expectations without asking, does this truly make me happy? And the most dangerous, resentment. Ignoring who we really are generates anger, even without knowing its source. One might blame the world, the system, the family, or society, or turn inward, leading to depression, self-sabotage, and a deep disconnection from oneself. But there is a way out, a way to break this cycle and free oneself from this invisible prison. The answer lies in the courage to face the truth, question illusions, and seek individuation. This process requires strength, determination, and the willingness to look inward, even when what we find is not pleasant. Now, we reach the crucial point. What does it mean to be yourself in practice? What is it like to live without masks, without repression, without fear of external judgment? What happens when you find your true self? Let's explore this in the conclusion. Finding the true self is not a destination, but a process. It doesn't happen with a snap of the fingers, as if one day you wake up knowing exactly who you are. It is a lifelong journey, a path of discovery, deconstruction, and reconstruction, facing shadows and freeing from imposed masks. Few choose this journey. Most prefer the safety of conformity. They cling to their personas for fear of rejection without them. They avoid their shadows out of fear of what they'll find. They ignore the archetypes guiding their lives because they don't want to admit the lack of control. But this fear has a price, a life empty of authenticity, depth, and real meaning. Jung showed us that true freedom lies in becoming who we truly are. This means accepting your entirety, acknowledging both your strengths and weaknesses, your light side and your dark side. It's about taking charge of your life instead of being conditioned by the environment, culture, and external expectations. It's moving from being just a puppet to becoming the author of your own story. But this journey demands courage. Courage to leave behind comfortable illusions that have protected you for so long. Courage to face fears and insecurities. Courage to recognize that you might not be who you thought you were, and that's okay, because now you have the chance to become much more authentic and alive. Are you ready for this challenge? Willing to question the stories told about who you are, to face the parts of yourself that have been repressed, to finally live according to your true essence. If something in this video made you reflect, share in the comments which part touched you the most. Have you ever felt like you were living an identity that wasn't truly yours? Let's talk about it. And don't stop now. The next video is important to deepen this journey and understand more about the hidden mechanisms that shape your mind. Keep watching, because this discovery is just beginning.